Yeah, but I want...
You know what she did for fun when she was your age? She pushed a hoop with a stick.
But I want to play...
With a stick.
Yeah.
Released on June 9th, 2009, Prototype hit PS3, Xbox 360, and PC, courtesy of Canadian developer Radical Entertainment and publisher Activision. Running on their proprietary Titanium engine, Prototype arrived during the height of the open-world superhero game craze. This was the era of Infamous, The Incredible Hulk, and Spider-Man 2, games that knew how to make players feel genuinely powerful in a sandbox environment. But where those games still maintained some moral center, Prototype threw morality out the window entirely. It wanted you to feel like a weapon of mass destruction. Perhaps the most significant aspect of Prototype's launch was its rivalry with another 2009 title, Sucker Punch's Infamous. Both were open-world superhero games released within a month of each other, and the gaming press was quick to frame them as direct competitors. This rivalry became a genuine debate among players, each game representing a different design philosophy. Prototype was the raw, brutal, and destructive power fantasy that offered a vast sandbox to experiment in. Infamous, on the other hand, was seen as the more polished, narrative-driven experience with a moral choice system that allowed players to be a hero or a villain. The clash of these two titans gave players a clear choice between two very different takes on the same genre. Radical was founded by Rory Arms, Dave Davis, and Ian Wilkinson in 1991, and created some fantastic games like The Simpsons Hit and Run, Scarface, The World Is Yours, The Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, as well as Prototype 2, and several entries in the Crash Bandicoot franchise. In 2005, Radical was acquired by Vivendi, but life didn't change so much for them as they still operated as an independent game development company. That's when they developed Scarface and The Incredible Hulk. They were also given the license to keep developing the Crash Bandicoot franchise, and it was during the development of Crash Mind Over Mutant that Radical began working on Prototype. Radical Entertainment was absorbed when, in 2008, Vivendi merged with Activision to form Activision Blizzard. In 2010, Activision laid off around 90 developers at Radical, which was about half of the studio's employees. Then, in April 2012, Radical released Prototype 2, which received a 79 on Metacritic and was the top-selling game for its launch month. Despite being critically and financially successful, Activision, in true corporate form, declared it a commercial failure. So 2 months later, they gutted the studio, laying off most of the team and reorganizing the rest into a small support unit to assist with other Activision projects. What remained of Radical was a sad shell of its former self, eventually becoming little more than a name on a list of studios acquired when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard years later. The game's narrative begins with Alex Mercer, an amnesiac shapeshifter, waking up in a morgue belonging to a genetic engineering company called Gentech. Alex quickly discovers his newfound superhuman abilities, including incredible strength, speed, and the power to create various weapons from his body. As he tries to unravel the conspiracy behind his condition and the subsequent viral outbreak that has quarantined Manhattan, he finds himself in a three-way war between the US military, a mysterious special forces unit known as Blackwatch, and the infected mutants. Like all my retrospectives, I do not avoid spoilers. I do, however, try to avoid surprising you with them. So, skip to the next chapter if you do not want to hear endgame spoilers. The plot is slowly revealed with the help of his sister, Dana Mercer, and other contacts. Players learn that the virus originated from a 1969 government test in Hope, Idaho, with a sole survivor, Elizabeth Green, who has now become the mother of the infected. The climax reveals the shocking truth. Alex Mercer died before the game even began. The entity the player controls is a sentient manifestation of the blacklight virus that consumed him at Penn Station, which is why he has no memory of his past life. As he consumes others, he was once consumed. This final revelation justifies the character's unheroic, amoral nature, making him not just an anti-hero, but a force of nature driven by vengeance and genetic imperative. Prototype is a quintessential sandbox game with a heavy focus on pure action. The open world is a living battlefield with a three-way conflict between Alex, the military, and the infected. The city is dynamically divided into zones. Blue zones are under military control, and red zones overrun by the infected. Alex Mercer's movement is characterized by a parkour-style fluidity. He can sprint up the side of any building and seamlessly leap over obstacles and across rooftops without caution, as he can fall from any height without damage. The designers at Radical Entertainment wanted the player to feel, quote, God-tier overpowered, and they certainly succeeded. The game's main draw is Alex's ability to shapeshift his arms into 5 distinct offensive forms: a versatile blade, long-range whip fist, slow but powerful hammer fist, claws for crowd control, and muscle mass for increased throwing and punching power. The central narrative device and a key gameplay mechanic is the Web of Intrigue. Alex gains fragments of his memory by consuming key individuals. These brief, spliced-together montages of memories not only reveal the truth about the viral outbreak and his past, but also provide the player with new abilities and missions. This is a clever way of serving the character's core narrative goal while ensuring the player has plenty of motivation to violently absorb people like a grouchy emo Kirby. Leveraging his shape-shifting abilities to change his appearance and his armaments, players could seamlessly blend stealth infiltration, combat transformations, and traversal systems into personalized approaches to every encounter. As for the length of the game, it will take most players about 12 to 15 hours to get through the story. But completionists looking to collect every orb and master every challenge are looking at closer to 30 hours. Prototype's lead game designer, Eric Holmes, had been with Radical Entertainment for years. He previously worked alongside Prototype's producer, Tim Benison, on 2003's Hulk, as well as 2005's Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. They were passionate about creating the ultimate power fantasy, wanting players to feel genuinely unstoppable in ways that other superhero games hadn't achieved. The team studied monster movies and body horror films to nail that unsettling feeling of Alex's shape-shifting abilities. Their vision was specifically to make the player question whether they were the hero or the villain of the story. Both Benison and Holmes left Radical Entertainment after working on Prototype. Holmes left in April 2009 to join Epic Games just before Prototype's release. There, he worked on games such as Infinity Blade and Gears of War 3. After leaving Epic, he continued to progress in AAA gaming, moving to WB Games Montreal, where he worked as the creative director on Batman Arkham Origins. In contrast, Benison's departure occurred amid Activision Blizzard's restructuring of its studios and the subsequent cancellation of Radical's projects, including a planned Scarface sequel. This corporate upheaval likely influenced Benison's decision to pursue new ventures outside of AAA development. The game's writer, Dennis Detwiller, brought a unique background to the project. He is a veteran of the tabletop RPG world and co-creator of the critically acclaimed Lovecraftian conspiracy game Delta Green. Prototype's Web of Intrigue mechanic is a direct reflection of this influence. It is a progression system and a narrative device that essentially transforms the player into a detective trying to piece together a terrifying conspiracy by gathering information one piece at a time, a central theme in many of Detwiller's tabletop games. The soundtrack was the product of a collaboration between two composers with distinct specialties, Sasha Dikisian and Chris Velasco. Dikisian, professionally known as Sonic Mayhem, began his career in the European underground scene and rose to prominence after his industrial electronic style won him a chance to score Quake 2. While Dikisian's strength skews toward industrial electronic sounds, Velasco, conversely, came from a classical composition background and focused on big orchestral scores, having worked on many titles including the God of War series. The blend of their two styles, Dikisian's raw electronica and Velasco's cinematic orchestral arrangements, proved fitting for Prototype's chaotic, apocalyptic Manhattan setting. After Prototype, the duo continued their successful partnership, scoring music for games such as Mass Effect 2 and 3, Tron Evolution, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine, demonstrating the lasting impact of their hybrid sound on the AAA industry. The voice cast was anchored by Barry Pepper as Alex Mercer. Pepper, who you might remember from Saving Private Ryan and The Green Mile, brought a gravelly intensity that made Alex sound genuinely dangerous and a little unhinged, while at the same time eliciting some sympathy from the player. Lake Bell voiced Alex's sister Dana, bringing real emotional weight to their relationship. She was already building her reputation as a talented voice actress before becoming better known for her directing work. The supporting cast included Kerry Walgren, also featured in our last retrospective of Prince of Persia, and
Phil Lamar,
both veteran voice actors who added depth to the conspiracy-laden story. So here's an interesting little tidbit. Renowned voice directors Eric Weiss and Tom Keegan emphasized making everyone sound slightly paranoid and on edge, which really sold the whole Manhattan under siege atmosphere. At launch, Prototype was well received by critics, earning a generally favorable Metacritic score of 79 for the PlayStation 3. Reviewers praised its over-the-top gameplay and immense arsenal of abilities. The game was seen as a satisfying experience that provided a chaotic sandbox for players to create their own fun. However, it wasn't without its criticisms. The city was described as bland to downright ugly with a drab color palette, and controls were considered unwieldy by some. A particularly common complaint was the lock-on targeting system, which would often prioritize inanimate objects like cars or benches over enemies in crowded areas. Finding a used copy of Prototype is pretty easy. Complete copies run about $8 to $15 on eBay, though sealed copies are creeping up to that $20 to $40 range. Unlike Prototype 2, there were no special editions of Prototype for PS3 in North America, just the standard release. For those who have since moved on from the PS3, the game was re-released in 2015 as part of the Prototype Biohazard bundle for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Ultimately, Prototype is a game that wasn't afraid to be exactly what its title suggested, a raw, brutal, and unrefined experiment. It stands in stark contrast to its more polished and story-driven contemporaries, offering a pure, unadulterated dose of mayhem and destruction. The game's enduring legacy is tied to the unique way its design choices, from the tabletop RPG-inspired narrative to the Lego piece gameplay philosophy, were a product of its time. It is a snapshot of a specific moment in gaming history, a period where studios were figuring out the formula for the open-world superhero genre, and Radical Entertainment chose to do it their way. For that alone, it's more than worthy of a place in any PlayStation 3 collection. Thank you everybody for watching. I know this is only our second retrospective and third video, but I would really love to go viral. So if you found any of this entertaining or valuable, or you just like Mr. Tungstone, please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell thingy. Catch you on the flip side.